Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So today, guys, we are going to do a class skill line ranking, looking at what is really good with the subclassing system for PvP, which skill lines are really worth looking into, maybe even using, and which ones you may want to pass. As with this one, I'm going to go through everything you need to know. What are the active skills, what's the ultimates like, the passives, and more importantly, will it make your build better or worse? Is it easy to use or is it really hard to build around? As you will notice, this will be a tier list from S down to D, and these will be somewhat subjective. The aim of this video is to go, here's a good best fit, this is roughly where we would expect them to be. Now, there might be some differences, some discrepancies, so let me know in the comments if you do agree or disagree and where you put the skills themselves. And as always, if you like what I do with my videos, then likes and comments are greatly appreciated. And if you haven't done so, do subscribe. And I want to say a massive thanks to the YouTube and Patreon members who support. They get exclusive content, early access, and much more. This details down below. But jumping straight into it, what skill lines are really worth using? So we're going to start with curative Runeforms. It's the first one in this list. This list is completely jumbled with just the classes in different orders, and we're going to see where they are. S tier for me is really worth using. This is like, you can add it to any build, it's going to be good, basically. D tier is, this is awful, it's really hard to use, it's not worth using it. It might be very niche, that's kind of where it's at. Curative Runeforms falls into this really weird place. It has some really cool skills in practice. So with the skill line itself, you have access to curative Runeforms, which is like 3 small heals that act as a burst heal. So it's basically your burst heal. It's not a big burst heal because some of them can hit other players in PvP, which is a bit awkward. You then also have access to the Chakram shields. It's decent, but again, shields get reduced in PvP by half, so they're not too great. They can't crit. You have access to the big heal beam. It's good in PvE. It's not so bad in PvP, but people move out the way. It doesn't heal them massively. It's more of a group skill. And then you have access to the Arcanist Domain, the Sensing Power and Disc, the Teleport Gate. As such, it's like a really weird utility skill. It's got some healing with it. It's got a few shields with it, but they're not terrible. They're not great either. The problem is the passives. You have to play into the Crux generation to get the extra healing, and you do get some sustain out of this. So for this reason, you could argue this is either a C or a B. On a good day, it's a B. On a bad day, it's a C. If you factor this against other healing skill lines, like Restoring Light, this is a C. Restoring Light basically does everything here, but better. If you're not really focusing on using a Templar, then you may put it up to a B, but I'm going to stick with a C for this. I think it's good, I don't think it's that good. There are some good skills, it's just not worth it. It's a bit awkward to use with the Crux system in place. We're going to hop on over to the Dragonite now and look at Draconic Power. So Draconic Power is the one with the big wings. It's like the leap, it's the one that we all love to use. It gives you access to Talons, it gives you access to Coag, you get Scales, you get Inhale. You get some pretty cool stuff in here. Thematically, it's really fun. The passives increases your block, they also give you more healing whilst you have one of the skills active, you get more health recovery and you get more resistance. It's a pretty good defensive skill line. It gives you access to your major armor buff. So as a skill line to trying to get some armor and a burst heal, it's pretty decent. No, it's not terrible, but it's pretty good. For damage, it's awful, for anything else, it's awful. So for this reason, I'm going to put this as a B. I think this is better for a solo player because Coag is fantastic and you get Leap, which is a really good ultimate. I think it's stronger than Runeforms in all honesty, so I'm going to go as a B. It gives you some major buffs which are great, a really good ult, and it gives you some decent healing options should you want them. We now have Siphoning from the Nightblade. Now Siphoning, I've been toiling over like back and forth on where should this go, because it has some really cool things in theory, but from a damage dealer, it's a bit lacking. You have access to Soul Tether. That is like the best thing with this. Soul Tether gives you really high burst AoE damage. It's fantastic. The actual spammable though, Swallow Soul, it's not that good. The problem is it doesn't do a lot of damage. The burst heal, it heals you, but you take some of your health, which means you get some healing, but you lose health. And when you compare it to other heals, like say the Living Death from the Necromancer, or the Restoring Light, they give you more healing with no downside. You have Cripple, which is a damage over time and an Immobilize. It's really good. The problem is the damage over time is terrible. It does very little damage. The only good one here is Siphoning Strikes and Drain Power. These are pretty decent skills. But what lets this down is the passives. After drinking a potion, you get 30 ult with Catalyst. You do get some max Magicka and Stamina if you use this with Magicka Flood, but you have to have one of these skills slotted. And that's where the problem is. Which skill will you slot on the front bar to keep that bonus Magicka and Stamina? You're not going to use a spammable, it's not that good. The control skill is okay at best. And then when you compare it to other skill lines you could use, it becomes very weak. You then have increase your healing down by 3% for each Siphon ability slotted, and you get some ult gen. In my opinion, this is going to be a bit harsh. I think it's D. You're not going to use this on niche builds. You know, it's niche and that's about it. Leech and Strikes, fantastic if you're on a bash build, you can just spam that forever. That's about it. We're going to hop on over to the Sorcerer now and look at Daedric Summoning. Daedric Summoning is the pet skill line. It is a really cool skill line. You summon the Atronach, you summon the Clan V, you summon the Twilight, you get the Curse, and you get the Big Shield and the Bound Aegis or the Bound Armaments. The passives themselves are pretty good. You get loads of max resources, you get reduced ult cost, which is awesome. You get extra sustain if things die. So if your pets die and you use like Curse often, you get free sustain. It is a really good skill line. What I like with this skill line in particular is that you get access to Hardened Ward. Hardened Ward is one of the best skill lines in the game for a shield. The skill itself gives you loads and loads and loads of just shield. It's the biggest shield in the game. It pairs really nicely because shield scale max Magicka or max health, in this case max Magicka, and you get access to Bound Aegis, which gives you more max Magicka. The passives gives you more max Magicka, so you can really stack that shield really high. We can go Bound Arms and have actually a damage skill. You then got Haunting Curse, which is a delayed burst skill. So you get a shield, you get a burst skill. It's fantastic. The ults are really good. So if you're going to go as a character that wants to use magic shields, this is the best skill line for you. It is like hands down the best defense skill line for what you're trying to do. The only thing I'd say is if you use summoning, you often want to use Mighty Student because you do end up losing the defense line and you need the armor buff somewhere. We then have Herald of the Tome. Herald of the Tome is the Arcanist damage skill line. So this skill line focuses on generating Crux to spend Crux to do damage. It sounds really cool, but as you can probably already tell in PvP, it's not that practical. You have the Unblinking Eye, which is the big tentacle monster that follows people around. It's quite cool thematically, it looks interesting. It doesn't do much damage. You then have Rune Blades, which are basically 3 little triangles that do damage. They're cool, but there's better range spammables. You have the Beam. The Arcanist Beam is like the staple skill. It misses all the time in PvP, and for that reason alone, I can't reliably recommend that. You then have Abyssal Impact, which turns into Seaflark's Flail, which is your spammable. It's an AoE spammable. It's pretty good. It does a bit of healing. Can be a bit of a pseudo execute, but it doesn't do much now. It has been nerfed heavily. Tentacular Dread is the burst version, but you have to stack it 3 times to be good. The only decent skill that I like in this one is Tome Bearer's Inspiration. It is a passive damage boost. It gives you extra sustain as you do just damage with recuperative tree ties, and then that gives you more Crux gen, which gives you the passives. You get Fated Fortune, increases your crit damage, crit heals. You get Hardened Contestants, giving you more weapon and spell damage. You then get more status effect damage, and you get Penetration. All in all, really interesting skill line. For that reason, I'm going to say it's probably a B tier. It is better than Runeforms because there's better passives. You've got access to more options, a spammable, a burst skill if you wish to use those 2 options. But when you compare it to the other skills with burst skills, the other skill lines just have more going for them. We're now going to hop on over to the Warden, and this is Winter's Embrace. Now, Winter's Embrace is going to be a controversial ranking. This is the skill line that gives you access to Northern Storm, Ice Fortress, Ripping Shards, Polar Wind, Shimmering Shield, Frozen Gate. The passives then give you more damage with the chilled status effect. You get a bit more resistance. If people get near you, they get hit with Major Main, reducing their damage, and you can block more, and you do a bit more frost damage. That last one, Piercing Cold, frost damage. It has been changed this patch round, which means it's not as good as it used to be. It used to be all damage, and for that reason, this is not a good damage passive. The actual defense bits are not too great either. It's a skill line that's trying to do lots of different things, but nothing well. The armor buff is nice. It is pretty decent. The Polar Wind is nice. but the Polar Wind requires you to stack your health to like 35, 40,000 to be any good. So if you're going for this for a heal skill line, just run, you know, Restoring Light is better. Like, so I'm going to say this is honestly a C tier in my opinion. The healing is nice, but you have to stack and build into it heavily. And the ones at the top, you can just use on any class. Like summoning, you can just stack Magicka easily. It works on anything, it does 3 damage. Bayonet Armaments does damage. Haunting Guts does damage. Winter's Embrace is really difficult to use. You have to really lean into it. And even then, it's not that great, especially with the other options you have access to. We now have the Assassination skill line from the Nightblade. This, again, is a base game class that you can get. And this is really, really good. It gives you access to Incap. It gives you access to Concealed Weapon, Ambush, Killer's Blade, Reaper's Mark, and Merciless Resolve. This is the gold standard of burst skill lines in the game. It's very obvious to anybody who's played the game, this is S. The Merciless Resolve got a massive buff this patch where if you stack up to 10 times you can shoot 2 in a row. Being able to fire 2 spec arrows when they do 28,000 each, it is pretty much a game over for most people. You line that with Haunting Curse or Overload or Deep Fissure, people die. It is that simple. It is a very good skill line. The passives also give you loads of crit chance when you attack from the flank. You also get bonus crit damage, which is more burst, helping with killing again. So all in all, this is like one of the S tiers of it works on any build you use. Run it on a Necro, it's going to work. Run it on a Nightblade, it's going to work. Run it on an Assault, it's going to work. Run it on a DK, it's going to work. It is a really good skill line. We're now coming to Adric Spear. This is a Templar skill line. So Adric Spear in the Templar skill line is the one with all the spears, as you can tell by the name. It gives you access to Crescent Sweep, really good ult. AoE hits hard, pulses damage around them. Puncturing sweeps or biting jabs, a bit of healing or a bit of AoE damage. It's one of the better AoE spam balls in the game. The biting jabs can also be your damage buff, which is nice. You've got access to a stun or a gap close. You've got access to a sustain skill, and you've got a shield if you wish. The passives are pretty good. When you have one of these skills slotted, you get 12% crit damage. It also increases your damage to people who are blocking. Great. You get Minor Berserk and Minor Protection when you do damage with one of these skills. You also get Burning Light, so when you do damage, you charge it up, you get free damage. And it increases your weapon and spell damage and armor by 6%. This is a really good skill line. And as you can see, I think this is an 8. It is really good. The only thing that lets it down is that it doesn't have like the spammable options of range, but all the passives are fantastic. The actual skills themselves are really good. You've got that gap close, you've got that AoE spammable, you've got that AoE ult. It's dirt cheap. This is a really good skill line. So I'm going to stick with the A. I'm very happy with where this is at, and I'll keep that there personally. We're going back to the DK now and looking at Earthenheart. So Earthenheart is the Dragonite's kind of... It's meant to be like their healing one, but with the base game classes, they have like skills all over the place. It's a bit awkward. So with Earthenheart, it's like damage buff, shield. It's a bit awkward. So this is the one with Corrosive Armor, one of the best ults in the game. It's fantastic. You got Stone Fist, which is an AoE, a ranged throwable. It's pretty bad in all honesty. Molten Weapons, it's decent. It's a group AoE damage buff. That's about it. The only good one in here is Igneous Shield for Major Mending, Ash Cloud for AoE healing, and Petrify. The passives aren't too great. They increase the duration of those skills themselves. You get some resources back if you use an ult, and when you do damage, you get Minor Brutality. And when you cast an Earthenheart ability, you restore some stamina. The problem is a lot of these skills you're not going to use. Like the armor buff isn't here. The major sorcery is here, but it's on like a 30-second duration or up to a minute. So you're not going to be using that often. The Petrify, you're going to use loads. This is great, but the problem is people have CC immunity. So you can't use it constantly to proc that passive at the bottom. And so what ends up happening is some of these passives you can't use that often. After all, you can only use when you get an ult. Helping Hand you can only use when you use one of these skills. You're not going to use them often. So for that reason, I'm going to say this is a C tier. It is decent, but it's not as good as some of the other ones. I think it's a really cool skill line. It's just, when you look at like Adric Spear, you can use this on most classes. Assassination, you can use it on most classes. Summoning, you can use it on most classes. Earthenheart's a bit harder to use and build around, so that's why it's a C. We're going to hop back over to the Nightblade this time, and this is the Shadow skill line. So the Shadow skill line is it's a bit of a weird one. So it has access to Bolstering Darkness, which is one of the worst ults in the entire game. So you don't use that. It does have Shadowy Disguise. It is the only skill in the entire game that gives you invisibility on demand. When you use it, you always get Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, so you get bonus crit chance, which is awesome. And some of the passives are they're okay. You get extra recovery, 15%, great. You get your Major Resolve when you use Cloak. So this Cloak becomes an escape tool with your armor buff. It also gives you sustain, and you get more max health for having it slotted by 5%. So you really use this for Cloak. Cloak becomes your damage, like your armor buff. It becomes a crit chance buff, which is awesome. It becomes a get away button. Really good skill. You have Blur, which gives you Major Evasion. If you morph it into Mirage, you get Minor Resolve. Or you morph it to Fantastical Escape, which is what you use. It becomes your snare removal, Major Evasion. Because it will proc the passive, you end up getting an armor buff, Major Evasion, and snare immunity. Really good skill. So again, it's quite some good stuff here. You got Twisting Path, which it becomes Refreshing Path as the heal. You got access to the Fear. The Shade is a bit naff, but a lot of the stuff are quite easy to build around. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. Because of the Cloak, this is an A tier. Cloak is too good to not have access to. If you use it on any class, you've got your armor buff built in. You've got access to Mirage if you want for more just AoE reduction. There's some good options here. You could argue this could be big because it's quite niche, but it's the only class skill line with Cloak in the entire game, so it's got to be pretty good. We're then going to go on to Living Death, one of our first Necromancer skill lines, and this is the healing skill line on the Necromancer. So what does Living Death do? Well, Living Death gives you access to reanimate. When you use this ult, you bring back dead people, and you can just basically make them come alive. You can morph this to animate blast bones and raise blast bones to damage people, which is awesome. The issue that you have though is that they've changed how pets work. You can only have so many pets in PvP, 5, which means when you use this ult, you can't cast the ult to get the pets up. So that's a bit of an oversight. They are going to try and fix that, but for that reason, the ult has to be discounted. It's not that good. It's also ridiculously expensive. We then have Render Flesh. Rend Flesh becomes Resistant Flesh, which is your burst heal. Is really good, and it gives you armor back. It does hit Reminder Defile though, so you do lose some healing after the first cast, but that does get fixed thanks to Curative Curse, which when you have a negative effect on, you get 12% bonus healing. So it does kind of pay for itself there a little bit. It's a really good burst heal. It's extra resistances. It's quite nice. You also have access to Expunge to be able to just get rid of some negative effects. It does cost health and stuff as you move it up to Hexproof. It's a bit awkward. You then have a life at mid-death, and then I like to use Enduring Undeath or Renewing Undeath. These are really good because they're big AoE heals. Huge AoE heals, which hits you and other people, and they put hots on them if there's corpses nearby. It is a very, very good AoE heal, one of the best in the game. You then have Spirit Mender. This is the little ghost that can absorb some stuff if you use Spirit Guardians. It's 10% damage reduction, pretty good. You got Tether, you got Coil. The passives, as we said, the Curative Curse, more healing if you've got a debuff on you. While you have a Living Death, so your crit chance with heals increases by up to 12%. Based on the target's wounds. You get some ult if you use a corpse. And while you have sacrificial blast bones made with Mendo, you get 15% you get recovery of 155. So the Undead Confederate will proc with the Guardian in the skill line itself. All of this combined means that this is a B tier. It is a really good skill line. It's better than the Curative Runeforms because it's got better burst heals. You've got the Ghost. You've got better passives. We're now going to go to Ardent Flame. This is a Dragonite skill line. So this is the skill line on DK that gives you access to Whip, Claws, all the dots. The ult is the Banner, it's a decent ult, and the passives are a bit so-so. As with the DK, you've probably noticed with the base game classes, they're a bit higgledy-piggledy, a bit jumbled up. The Banner is very good for group play. The Whip is a bit lacking. It's great if you can use it, but you have to charge it to be able to use it, which makes it a bit awkward to build around, because you have to go into melee to use the skill line. On top of that, when you compare it to Animal Companions or Assassination, where it just charges passively and you can just shoot it, or it just goes off because it's a delayed skill, this isn't that. So this makes it really awkward to use. The only reason you use the skill line is because of the dots. Searing Strike becomes Venomous Claw or Burning Embers, and Noxious Breath. It is a armor debuff. It is a really good dot. The Claw is fantastic dot. So these are some of the best dots in the game, but you have to be melee. You do have access to Inferno, which can be cauterized, so it's a heal for you and allies, or Flames of Oblivion and AoE just damage skill. And the passives themselves, Combustion, it increases the damage of your status effects for burning and poisoned, and you also get some sustain when they proc. Warmth increases the damage of your class dots, so these dots in this skill line only, and it also snares people, so you have to use these skills. Searing Heat increases damage over time by your dots in this skill line only, and Word of Ruin increases your flame and fire attacks of all types. The problem is a lot of these skills and these passives, they have to work together, which means you can't put this on a build and use one skill. You have to really use all, or you don't benefit enough. And for that reason, that's why I'm going to say it's a B tier. It's decent, there's some really good skills. The damage over times are one of the best in the entire game. You could argue it's a C, but because the dots are so strong, I'm going to put it as a B. We're going to go over to Dark Magic now, and this is another Sorcerer skill line. This skill line is really, really interesting. It gives you access to Absorption Shield or Suppression Field, so Negate. It is the only skill in the game where you can stop other people using magic skills. For that reason, it is a very strong group ult. You then have access to Crystal Fragments or Crystal Weapon. Both are fantastic. Crystal Weapon is awesome on gank builds. You've seen a couple of videos on the channel now. It's really, really good. So I really like that. Crystal Frag's also great. You have Encase, which is an AoE Immobilize. It's a bit like Wall of Elements, but just in front of you, and it locks people in place. You've got Defensive Rune, which stuns people if they hit you. It's got 2-minute duration, or Obscene. You've got Rune Cage if you want to just pick somebody to stun. You've got Dark Exchange, swapping your resources around, and you have the Mines. Some of the skills are pretty good. The passives give you access to reduced cost, so you get 6% reduced cost. You also get some healing if you use the skills in the skill line. You also get some reduction if you block, and if you cast a Dark Magic ability, you get some like crit chance on the Prophecy. The passives are pretty bad, I'm not going to lie, they're pretty bad. The only good skills, Crystal Weapon, Crystal Frag, the swapping resources with Dark Deal or Dark Conversion, and then the ult. It's not a terrible skill line, but it's not the best. I am going to go on a limb here though, and I'm going to say this is a B. Only because Negate is the only counter to ball groups. It is a really good ult. Yes, it's expensive, but there's no other option. A bit like the Shadow, there's no other option for this. At least with the Shadow, you can use Cloak as much as you like. So I'm going to put Shadow, like Dark Magic at B. It's good, I just don't think it's that good, and it's a bit awkward to build around. We're now going to go on to the Bone Tyrant. This is the Necromancer tanking skill line. So this skill line is focusing on utilising just the skeleton stuff to make you tanky, essentially. You've got the Goliath transformation, which is really cool, very expensive. The actual damage on it isn't great, so it's basically like an all-no button. You have access to the Scythe, which is an AoE spammable. It doesn't do a lot of damage. You've got Bone Armour. You have Summoner's Armour or Beckoning Armour. Summoner's Armour increases the cost of your Necro summons. If you don't use any other skill lines from the Necro, this isn't going to help you. So you have to use Beckoning, and Beckoning becomes a range, pulls people in basically if they hit you. It's quite cool, but then you lose the ability to control when they get stunned. It's good against being ganked from bow builds, so there's some use for it. You then have Deaden Pain and Potency, which you sap stuff out of the corpse to get healing or get resources back. It's a bit iffy in all honesty. You've got Totem. Totem's okay, it's like an anti-counter to ball groups. You chuck it down, if they come into you, they get stunned. You've got Grave Grasp, which is like an AoE immobilize, you can chuck in front of you. The passives themselves, when you have them slotted and something dies within like a radius around you, you get some like sustain back. You also reduce the damage from dots on you if you have one of these active. You also increase your healing if you have some of these on, and you get a bit more max health. The passives aren't terrible, but they're not great. The skills are absolutely awful. So this is going to be a D tier. But there are just better defensive lines to use in the game. Like if you're going to use a defense skill line, Winter's Embrace is better. I'd just use that. You got Restore Light, which is really good. Soldier of Apocrypha, decent. So Bone Tyrant is a bit naff in my opinion. We're going to go over to Stormcaller now. Stormcaller is the Sorcerer skill line for their lightning, their shock, their just goodness that we like. With this skill line, you get access to some really cool skills. You've got Overload, it hits really hard. You've got Endless Fury, which is an execute. You've got Lightning Form, which is a movement skill. It's also an armor buff. It can be major expedition or minor expedition. You've got Lightning Flood, which is an AoE spammable. It does do a bit of like dot damage, but it's still good for PvE. It's not the main one there, but you've got Surge. When you do crits, you get healing. You've got Streak. The passives are like goated. They are really good. Capacitor increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery. Energize increases your physical and shock damage by 5%. Amplitude, every 1%, you do 1% more damage for every 10% of the health the target has. At 100% health, you do 10% bonus damage. At 0% health, you do 0% bonus damage. But basically, this means you do more damage to people who are tanky at full health, which means it's really good to help get people low quickly. Fantastic. Expert Mage, you get more weapon and spell damage for slotting some of these Sorcerer skills. So with this in mind, you've got Armor buff, fantastic. You got your damage buff, fantastic. You got your mobility skill, fantastic. You got a stun, fantastic. You got a ranged ult that hits really hard, fantastic. You got an execute. You got really good passives. This is an S tier. This is like one of the best skills in the game. If you're going to pick a skill line for just good stuff, Stormcaller, really, really good. We're going to come over now to the Templar once again and come to Dawn's Wrath. So Dawn's Wrath is the Templar one with all the beams and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's like bright yellow sunlight. You get access to Nova, one of the best ults in the game for group play. If you chuck this down and somebody synergizes with it, you can do a stupid amount of AoE burst. Fantastic, it's just hard to use. You do have access to Sunfire, which is a really good damage over time. It has some major savagery and major prophecy, so some crit chance. You then get Dark Flare, or you get Solar Barrage, so an AoE around you. They're a bit mid in all honesty. You have access to Backlash, which turns into Power of the Light or Purifying Light, so it's a delayed burst skill. You got Live in Dark, which heals you when people attack you and snares them. And you have access to the Beam, which is your execute, one of the best executes in the game. It can be roll dodged now, but it's still pretty decent. Passive wise, you have access to increasing the duration of all of those skills, as I said above. You also get some Ultra when you use those skills. You get minus sorcery when you use those skills, which is 10% spell damage. This is really good for some builds. And you also reduce the cost of all your abilities and ults by 5%. It's a very good skill line, some really good stuff here. Live in Dark, one of the best hit over times. Radiant Oppression, Radiant Glory, one of the best executes. Power of the Light, one of the best delayed burst skills because it's just passive. All of that in mind, this is really worth using, and I'm going to put this at a tier. It's good. And I'm going down to B actually, I'm going down to B. It's kind of like on Dark Magic, it's got really good stuff there, just not quite as good as Adric Spear. They've got better passes, but this is still really, really worth using. Keeping on the Templar theme, we're going to go to Restoring Light. Restoring Light is fantastic. That is like the quick TLDR. The ult is okay. AoE healing for you and your group, decent. Honor the Dead. It's a burst heal that pays for most of itself back. If you hit somebody who's below 75% health when you're going to use a burst heal, you get most of the resource back over the next 6 seconds. For that reason, you can spam this a lot more than you should, in my opinion. It's a very, very strong ult. A very, very strong spammable, sorry. You then have Healing Ritual, which is an AoE heal. You can just spam this, it's quite cheap. It gives people a minor expedition with some of the morphs, so great. You got Restoring Aura, which gives you your regen buffs whilst it's slotted. You can turn into Repentance, where you can use dead bodies to get health and stamina back. And if you are using it with a Necromancer generating corpses, you can use the corpses too. You then got access to the Cleanse, which does actually remove negative effects, and it heals you or it does damage. You then have Rune Focus, which is your armor buff. It also gives you healing if you stand inside it. It can also give you magical or stamina back. The passives themselves gives you more healing whilst you are like low health. So as you get lower health, you get more and more heals for all skills. Great. The Cleansing Ritual, they last longer. They give you minor mending, more healing. The Light Weaver, when you heal people low, you get ult. And you also get the ability to automatically block or when you do channels and stuff, which is really, really good, like beams and so on. And you can resurrect people really fast. This is a very, very, very good heal defense skill line. For this reason, this is an A tier. If you're going to need a healing defensive line, Restoring Light is what you want to go for. It is very, very, very good, and I would definitely recommend getting this. We're now going to look at the last few, which you have Soldier of Apocrypha. This is an Arcanist skill line. is the damage one. It's not terrible. It's the defense one, sorry. And with this one, it's all about using runes to be tanky. When we compare this to Restoring Light, which we've just had, where does this sit? You get Gibbering Shield, which is Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea. The big bubble around you that when people hit you, it does damage. It stores up the damage and damages people around you. It's like an oh no button trying to basically flip the fight around. You're low on health, you're gonna die, you use this, people attack you, it charges the damage, then you turn around and you try and kill them. It's good in some situations. You get access to armor buff, which gives you minor breach with Fate Woven armor or Crux Weave if you use the Crux system, so you can generate ult, which is pretty decent. You get Runic Defense. When you get hits, you get minor resolve or minor protection if you're below half health, and a mini heal. Pretty decent. You get Rune of the Colourless Pool. It's a stun. It's one of the best stuns in the game. It works through roll dodge, so you can put this on them and they get stunned in roll dodge. It also hits with minor vulnerability, minor brittle. The passives are okay. You do get a bit of armor where you have one of these slotted, so this is just great. You do get a bit of more recovery for each skill slot, is at 81 for each skill, and you do also get some minor evasion, which is okay. The skills themselves are pretty good. As a defense skill line, you get your armor buff. You've got access to a passive like mini burst should you need it with again more armor. You got access to the really big, shield if you want to use that. So Impervious Rune Ward. And you also have access to a delayed stun. As a defense skill line, it's pretty good. For that reason, it's going to be a B. Is it as good as Restoring Light? No. But it's definitely up there. It's better than Winter's Embrace. It's not as good as Restoring Light, but it is a good skill line. We then have 3 skill lines left. Animal Companions. This is like the one I know at the back of my hand. It is fantastic. This is the Warden skill line with Cliff Racer, the Bear, Deep Fisher, all that good stuff. The long and short of it is this is an A skill. This is this is stupidly good. The Bear is bad, but Cut and Dive is a spam ball that bleeds. It's pretty good. Bleed damage procs hemorrhaging. It's really good damage over time, really good pressure. Not terrible. Deep Fisher, one of the best burst skills in the game. It hits them with minor and major breach, reducing the armor by 9,000. It hits really hard. You've got access to Fetcher Infection, which is one of the best ranged AoE dots in the game, and it hits minor vulnerability. If you cast it a second time, it does 60% more damage. It's really, really good. You've got access to Betty Net, which is a pseudo purge. It purges something every 5 seconds. It gives you a damage buff, and it can give you magic or stamina depending on the morph. You have Falcon of Swiftness, which is a movement skill with 6 seconds expedition. It is the highest movement skill duration you'll get in the game. Bird of Prey gives you bonus damage if it's slotted, or Deceptive Predator gives you minor evasion if it's slotted, more defense. The passives are great. You get, every time you use one of these skills, you get health. Each time you're in combat, you get ult when you're using these skills. Great. You also get 20% magic and stamina recovery. 20%, one of the highest in the game with Flourish. And an advanced species increases your crit damage by 5%. This is a really good skill line. If you want any build, you need a damage skill line with some mobility and a cleanse and free sustain. Use this. This is really, really good. We then have 2 left. Gravelord, which is the Necromancer damage skill line, and this is the one with Blast Bones. So if you played the game before, we know Blast Bones is good. It has the Colossus, which is okay for group play, but people do move out of the way. The Skull is terrible, just don't use that, it's awful. You've got Blast Bones, which hits really hard as Dawnbreaker, and you can use this every 3 seconds, it's stupidly good. Boneyard is a bit naff. Skeletal Mage or Skeletal Archer is okay. It's your damage buff that does damage. It's one of the few damage skills that give you a damage buff as well. So the Archer is okay. The Siphon is pretty bad. The passives, when your Sacrificial Mage, Skeleton or Mender dies, you get the next one really cheap. So it's like a 66% reduction. Increases your critical chance against people under 33% health by 20%, so it becomes like a way to crit more against low health targets, so like a pseudo execute. You get more pen for having the skill slotted, and you increase your damage with dots by 10%. This is really good for one reason: Blast Bones. Blast Bones is one of the best burst skills in the game. Landing this with Deep Fisher or Merciless Resolve or Overload or Dawnbreaker, and you got huge amounts of instant damage. It's also delayed. The Skeletal Archer is a way to get your damage buff and also do damage at the same time. Pretty decent. The passives are okay as well. They help you kill people because that status helps. You do more damage with your dots. You're going to keep people lower because of that. You get more pen. really helpful. You get more crit chance against low health. It is an A tier. It is not as good as Animal Companions or Stormcaller or Assassination, but it's still very, very good. We come to our last skill now, which is the Warden's Green Balance. This is a skill line that's focusing primarily on healing. It has access to Healing Thicket, one of the best healing ults in the game. It's dirt cheap, it heals really high, and it also has a heal over time. One of the best ults in the game for healing. You have Fungal Growth, which is the mushroom heal. It's pretty bad. You have Healing Seed. Healing Seed can be decent if you turn it to Budding Seed and you spam it in group play. It heals really, really quickly for a lot of healing. You can also give them a heal over time. Nice group healing. For one solo player, it's not that good. You have Living Vines, which becomes Living Trellis. People heal, attack you, you get free healing. It gives you a mini burst heal. It's pretty good. As a heal goes, it's one of the better ones. You can chuck it on loads of people. It lasts ages. Really good heal there. You have Lotus Flower. Your light attacks heal people. Heavy attacks heal people. You get Major Prophecy, which increases your crit chance. You can make this last for a minute if you really want, which is insane. And it can heal you or heal allies with the other morph of Green Lotus. You've got Nature's Grasp, which becomes a way to chain to people to heal them. It's a pretty good heal over time, and it can heal you as well with Nature's Embrace. The passives also give you Major Mending. So as you use any of these, you get Major Mending for free because it will just proc, especially with Living Trellis. Nature's Gift gives them free sustain. So if you use Living Trellis, you're going to proc this every single second. It's 277 magic and stam. If you have this on 2 or 3 people, this passive is going to be proccing every second. It is 500 recovery. It is huge amounts of recovery. You then get more healing if having these skills slotted, and you also get minor toughness. It's the only way you get minor toughness without sets. So with this combined, it is a really good heal skill line. For that reason, this is definitely a B tier. Is it as good as Restoring Light? No, but it's very close. If it's like B+, I'd put it there. But that's where I'd rank the skills. There's a lot that I've gone through. I appreciate this has taken a while, so if you like this, then obviously let me know what you think about it. And I'm going to just say a massive thanks for the support. If you have any questions about the rankings, the skills, how you could use them, let me know in the comments down below. But as always, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and bye!